Hey guys, how is it all going? So, thank you so much for joining me for what is Dark Harvest movie review. And to get into the story of Dark Harvest, it's set in the early 60s in a small town in America. Unfortunately, this town holds a curse, and it holds the curse of Sawtooth Jack, who is a scarecrow which is in the middle of the cornfield, which comes alive every Halloween and butchers and massacres anybody that comes into its path. Sawtooth Jack is brutal, to say the least. And Sawtooth Jack is making his way to the church of the town. And I believe if Sawtooth Jack gets there by midnight, it's bad news for the people of the town. So the only way they can stop Sawtooth Jack is the teenagers of the town. You all go out in groups to hunt Sawtooth Jack, to kill it before Sawtooth Jack makes it to the church. So to inspire the teenagers to go out and kill Sawtooth Jack are two things. One, they get locked into a bedroom for 3 days without any water, any food. And apparently these turn these teenagers in this town into absolute psychopaths when they are finally released, because they all go out with pitchforks, knives, all sorts, machetes, to hunt this thing down after 3 days of no food, no water. They are ready to kill, because Sawtooth Jack has also been like filled up with like chocolates and sweets and stuff like that. So they just like gouge on him when they kill him. Also, whoever kills Sawtooth Jack also gets like $25,000, gets a car so they can leave the town. So, as you can tell, this movie has a very interesting premise, and I was very intrigued to check this movie out because it just sounded nuts to me. And I am disappointed to say that overall I think this movie is a massive disappointment because it doesn't focus on what it should focus on, but I will get to that later in this review. So I will stick with my positives, and my positives are: the main one out of this movie is the character of Sawtooth Jack. This thing is creepy looking. There is absolutely no way I would go out and actively hunt this thing, because this thing is brutal. It can just set you on fire. It can just rip your limbs off. It will rip half your head off. It will rip your face apart. It will grab you from your mouth here like that and just rip your face off like a clicker in the Last of Us game, just like that. And there's a kill just like that in this movie, which is just absolutely fantastic. Some of the kills are just glorious in this movie. They really are, and it doesn't hold back on the brutality neither. Like I said, you see a guy just get his like face literally just ripped apart. There's a guy that just gets like half his head from here just absolutely chopped off. Yeah, you do not want to be within 10 yards of Sawtooth Jack whatsoever. The moment you would hear him coming, you would just be gone. There's no way I'm sticking around. Also, the acting's not too bad in this movie as well, apart from one character, which I will get to later. But overall, the acting's pretty decent. And like I said, the premise is pretty decent of this movie as well. It just doesn't focus on what it needs to focus on. But I'm diving into my negatives there a bit too soon. There is another positive for me in this movie, and I will say this: I think the film is well directed. There is some beautiful shots in this movie. Like, the cinematography is pretty good in this movie, I have to say. There were some beautiful shots. Like, the main one for me is where Sawtooth Jack opens up a bunker, and there's a load of kids in the bunker that don't want to go out and like hunt Sawtooth Jack at all, and I really don't blame them. And Sawtooth Jack is walking down the steps into this bunker, and there's a shot just outside the bunker. The next minute you just see like a fountain of blood just absolutely just roar out the bunker. And I thought it was an absolutely beautiful shot. I really did. But to dive into my negatives, there's not enough of that. The film doesn't focus on what it should focus on. Like, the gold of this movie is Sawtooth Jack, the lore of Sawtooth Jack, the history, when the kids are hunting Sawtooth Jack. All of that is entertaining. And when it happens, it's really good. But the problem is it only happens in moments throughout the movie. And the movie focuses on like these side plots and side stories that you really don't care about. And when it starts to focus on the other stuff, the film drags, the film becomes boring, and you just don't care. You just want to hurry up, you just want to get it through till when Sawtooth Jack appears on screen again, or when teenagers are hunting him. When that is happening, this movie's quite entertaining, and it should have just focused on that. It's simple. That's what it just should have focused on, because that's when it was highly entertaining. And then it just shifts off that completely and goes on to these like I don't even know. I can't even remember. And I only watched the film last night. and that's a negative in itself. It is pretty forgettable. I only remember moments of this movie, and it's the Sawtooth Jack moments, because they stand out, because it's so well done. And it's such a shame, because there is a good movie in here if they just would have focused on the right things instead of all the other crap that just wasn't that interesting at all. And it baffles me as to why they spend so much time on all the other stuff when it's just like, when its premise was right there. You know, it's frustrating, and that's one of the main takeaways from this movie. It's extremely frustrating. And like I said on my positives, most of the acting's decent in this movie, apart from one character, and it's the character of the sheriff, the copper of the town. Now, I put no blame on the actor whatsoever, because this is from the director. This is what the director wanted of him and of this character. But this character is so over the top, completely over the top. Like, this character feels like he should be in a completely different movie, because the movie, for the most part, plays it so very, very seriously. And this guy just doesn't feel right. He doesn't suit the tone of the movie at all. The actor just like chews up the scenery. He's always like shouting, and it just doesn't fit. His performance just doesn't fit the tone of this movie at all. And like I say, I don't blame the actor for that at all. That comes from the director, and that's baffling to me, how he would want that kind of performance in this movie when everyone else is pretty much playing it straight. For the most part, playing it straight. But like, he is just so over, just too much. Just too much. It's like he should be in a completely different movie. Honest to God, like he should be in a completely different movie. But yeah, overall, guys, unfortunately, this movie is good in moments. The problem is there's not enough of them moments, and it just focuses on the wrong stuff. And ultimately, by the end of it, it's bitterly disappointing, and it's pretty forgettable, and it's pretty boring, to be honest with you. So I would give Dark Harvest, I would give it a 2 out of 5. And like I say, to earn that 2, there are some really good moments in this movie. I just wish there was just more of that, because that stuff was great. But like I've just said, there just wasn't enough of it. So ultimately, it's a letdown. So guys, what did you think of Dark Harvest? Did you enjoy it, or are you the same as me? Were you disappointed with it? Let me know in the comments below, guys. It is absolutely always a pleasure hearing from you. And as always, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you again real soon. Take care, guys. Goodbye now.